I don't know. I'm in my usual black and white. But why is the background coloured? Oh, very strange. Hello there, Tarky here. For someone in the UK's most senior political position, Rishi Sunak doesn't seem desperately good at politics. The new PM said he was too focused on the domestic economy troubles to attend COP27 in Egypt, and also banned King Charles III from going. His new cabinet decisions included removing the two ministers, one being the COP26 president, Alok Sharma, who have a climate change brief, from attending meetings. But then BoJo announced he was attending. I assume he's persuaded someone else to pay for it and likes the sun loungers at Sharm el-Sheikh. Definitely a political move though, playing out his king in exile card. So, after a U-turn so tight he probably pulled vapour, played the man not the ball there, sorry, Sunak is attending the COP27 climate summit in Egypt next week after all. Sunak had come under sustained pressure to go to COP27 from the many supporters of the UK's net zero goals in the Conservative Party. Yes, there actually are. And Parliament more broadly, as well as facing international criticism. Macron and Biden are both going, and both of them have significant domestic issues to deal with too. It was just a bad look in only his second week as PM, and given the UK hosting of COP26, Sunak is now there for a day, which is something. With this Tory silliness going on, late last week the UN's Environment Agency said there is no credible pathway to 1.5 degrees C in place, and the failure to reduce carbon emissions means the only way to limit the worst impacts of the climate crisis is a, quote, rapid transformation of societies. This week, the UN Secretary-General, Antonio Guterres, warned rich countries must sign a historic pact with the poor on the climate, or, quote, we will be doomed, as a deepening gulf between the developed and developing world has put climate talks on the brink. Some have aimed criticism at Guterres for his increasingly stark rhetoric on the climate crisis, but he is unapologetic, pointing to the many indicators of rapidly approaching tipping points and the lack of credible action. The war in Ukraine has meant almost all governments have failed to take even the inadequate steps proposed at COP26, suddenly claiming the game has changed. Indeed, the two Tory PMs we've had following Johnson, their senior cabinet members included, seemingly chose to deliberately ditch most climate policy and revelled in that decision. As I said, the demotion of the two ministers with a climate change brief. Sunak has backtracked on fracking, but that seems just as likely to be simply a voter retaining decision, fracking being near universally unpopular with the UK public, given his initial failure to understand the need to attend COP27. But the game, Ukraine or not, hasn't changed. Even 1.5 degrees Celsius won't stop things like ice shelf collapse. What it does is hopefully mean those things take longer, giving the world time to adapt to the new conditions. Unfortunately, that the pathway to 1.5 degrees is nigh gone means that the Earth is more likely to reach tipping points where things get rapidly worse. There's already plenty of evidence that the financial burden of climate change is vast and rising, not to mention the terrible human cost in places like Pakistan last month, which have contributed the least to the problem. The global south already suffers for the wealthy north's inaction. And if nothing gets done, eventually even the UK Treasury bean counter's obsession over this £50 billion economy black hole to fill will probably look like so much small change when Britain itself begins to suffer the real consequences. As I tried to emphasise last week, it's never the super wealthy, even politicians, but ordinary people with ordinary lives, wages and savings who always suffer the worst first. That applies to us all, individuals as well as governments. The cost doesn't matter a jot, because if nothing is done, the result, the likely destruction of most life on the planet, is utterly unaffordable. Chin chin.